Arkansas's #1 trusted source for weather. This is a new podcast episode alert.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Arkansas Weather Watchers podcast episode, and we've got a special episode for you guys today, kind of going over what brought the entire team together and kind of telling you guys about the future and everything that's going to be coming up here. So once again, our owner Derek, he's going to be out and about this weekend. He's going to be camping with his family and everything like that, so he should be joining us within the next couple of episodes here. But like I said before, we've got everything to talk about today. We've got a lot of new features coming up for the page. We're going to be talking about what's going to be occurring as we get later into 2023 and into 2024. And also, we're going to be talking to you guys about how storm anxiety kind of plays a role with Arkansas weather and everything like that here. So, first and foremost, I'm going to kind of start this off with our producer and our developer, Rich. And this is something that we've been kind of talking about. You guys kind of heard this with the last couple of episodes, how we have a mobile app for Arkansas Weather Watchers. And it took a couple of years to get to this point because it was, a trial and error. We had something going and then something happened and everything like that. So it took us a couple of years to kind of get to this point of saying, hey, we have a mobile app. You can use it to kind of stay ahead of the storm and everything like that. So, Rich, I was just going to kind of talk to you about that. How excited were you when I brought the thing about having a mobile app for Arkansas Weather Watchers?
I was absolutely excited. No, I'm kidding. I was excited. I was very excited. How you doing, Cameron?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing absolutely good. Glad that the weather is actually starting to quiet down a little bit because we've had a lot of severe weather over the last couple of weeks, and even though it hasn't been 100 degrees, it's been very, very active. So we're now starting to kind of quiet everything down. But unfortunately, when you quiet things down in early June, well, actually mid to late June now, early July, um, you start to heat up. You start to get up to the upper 90s, 100s, and you start talking major heat problems here. So, how are you? That's the biggest question.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm good, doing good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. When we're in an active pattern, it is all hands on deck. It is, checking Facebook, it's Discord, it's dealing with technical difficulties with the tech, and it is just all over the place. But, it's been great having this break, and we're making progress. We're making big progress on app version 2.0.
Definitely. And I was getting ready to talk to you about that because, we already have a mobile app out on the Google Play Store and also the Apple Play Store. And um, kind of talk to our viewers about what can they expect with this new version that's coming out that's different from the current version one that we have already. That kind of gives people alerts and lets them look at radar to kind of give them the basic stuff. So um, let's talk about version two. What makes version two more unique than the current version one that we have right now?
Oh my goodness, everything. Everything. Just imagine that app version 1 never existed and you get this amazing new front page, you get more stylized features, you get a menu to be able to view the Facebook feed, the YouTube feed. We've got all sorts of new features like a button that's called Reported. You can literally click the button, and if you're logged in, you can report what's going on around you. You got a whole bunch of hail laying on the ground. Well, just press report it, take a picture of it, send it right to us. Our moderators will then sort through all the pictures that you guys have. We will try to show it on live feeds. We'll try to share it on Facebook, and we're gonna have a chaser button We're gonna have like all these new features, new buttons. Radar is being made completely from scratch. We're talking going back to zero line code here. And- yeah,
Man, I think
yeah.
a lot of people are going to be excited about that, especially because we have a lot of people on the page
Mhm,
that likes to tune in whenever we're out in the field storm chasing, or doing live broadcasts, stuff like that. Especially when severe weather strikes there. And also, I really do like that feature about Reporter because, like you said, if something comes up, like if you see hail on the ground, or if someone is able to get damaged safely, they could send that in, and we can get that up on air and stuff like that. Which in return, will actually be able to give people more of like, hey, this is what this storm is capable of doing,
mhm.
and it could easily, either save lives, or it can give people a heads up, and they can, get to shelter and stuff like that. Especially if you're like outside during any like outdoor activities and stuff like that. Because I know we had a lot of problems with that with the last event where we had a lot of storms coming in, and everyone, they knew about it, but they didn't know like what time it was coming in, and we were able to get that information out, and we saved a lot of people where normally they probably wouldn't have expected it was coming
Right.
at that point. And also, one more thing I want to ask you, the Facebook and the YouTube feed on there, because we get a lot of people that will like ask us and stuff like that. Are we still posting and everything?
Mhm.
So kind of talk about that feature with version 2 coming up.
Well, so here's where we're probably going to upset Facebook because we're going to have we're going to have a feature that if you want to know when we posted our latest Facebook post and Facebook decides it doesn't want to let you know that we did it, well, you can have the app let you know that we have a new Facebook post, that we have a new YouTube post, that we have live alerts. And that's another thing I didn't mention is that we're going to tie in several systems to where you can actually watch a stream of live reports, warnings and watches going out. You're going to be able to see radar images. You're going to be able to see all these things in real time if you're not a part of our Discord community. So you'd be able to see it right there on the phone and you'd be able to follow
Wow.
along. Yeah, you could follow along with all of us and be informed, stay ahead of the storm. I mean, I we've got so many other planned features for this, and we're just going to continually improve from there because not to mention like the current app doesn't have hourly forecast. It doesn't have a very decent 7-day forecast. It's just a generalized overview. Well, we're completely overhauling that, and we're completely overhauling the design of it, how it's shown. We're going all the way with version 2.0.
I cannot wait, and I think our viewers are probably going to say the same thing. They can't wait for version 2.0 to come up, man. That sounds like it's going to be one kill over an app.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
and like I said, like I mentioned before, and especially for those that are listening, if you've ever tuned into like Facebook on our page, and I know they could be real selective with notifications they send out and everything like
Yeah.
that. And that plays a big role whenever it's not only just like normal quiet periods, but with severe weather.
Mhm.
Because if there's a tornado warning or something like that, and you don't get the notification that you're live, or that we're live, or something like that, then that could potentially be life threatening. So
Yeah.
at that point, that app that we're coming out with version 2.0 sounds like not only it's going to be great for design purposes, but it sounds like it's going to be a real lifesaver for someone that could actually tune in and get live, up to date information without having to go through a lot of programs, man. So awesome job, man. I said before, I can't wait for version 2 to come out, guys. And you guys are
Mhm.
really going to enjoy it. And if you don't have it already, go make sure you download it on the Google Play Store and the Apple Play Store as well. That way, you guys can stay ahead of the storm, and we can't wait to have that up. Speaking of storms, and speaking of, kind of staying ahead of the storm and everything like that, there's a lot of people that actually, that struggle with storm anxiety and everything like that, and kind of want to bring in one of our awesome moderators. Heidi, she does an amazing job kind of answering the questions and dealing with people in terms of, during big events where, your anxiety is naturally through the roof. And Heidi, I kind of want to ask you a question, like what intrigued you about Arkansas Water Watchers? What kind of intrigued you about our page?
Hey, Cameron, thanks for having me on. So I have loved weather ever since I was a kid, and I believe I found you guys on Facebook probably about 5, 6 years ago. Just happened to be live and thought, wow, these people are really doing an awesome job covering the storms here in Arkansas. And so ever since then, I have just found you guys and sticked with you guys when it came to any storms.
Gotcha. And also, thank you for joining in the podcast. And I really appreciate you being here. So, um, let's talk about, during those big moments, when we have one of those big events, and I'm talking like the enhanced risk plus, the significant damage events, significant tornadoes. Um, how is the best way to kind of counter that storm anxiety? What is the best advice that you give people during that situation?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, storm anxiety, it's something that seems to be very stigmatized. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I don't believe that it should be because it's very rational. And
Definitely.
so I believe that that's something that you should first kind of understand, that it's okay to be nervous about storms because, storms can be scary. I also think that it comes a lot to thinking. If you are anxious about something, our thoughts tend to very much just keep going and going and going and get out of hand. And so, if we can really just take control of our thoughts and really assess the situation, see if we're planned, if we're prepared, do some deep breathing, then we kind of can clear our head, calm our minds, and really actually prepare for the storms that are headed our way.
Definitely, and I love that advice, and I think a lot of people, especially whenever you're dealing with severe weather, you're dealing with those big events, um, should take that because if in a situation like that, your body goes into that fight or flight mode, especially if there's like a tornado warning or something major is getting ready to go down. So in most cases, it's always first things first is having a plan ready to go. That's what we do here is we kind of give people heads up a couple of days or even sometimes a week out saying, hey, we've got severe weather potentially on this date or in this time frame. Have a plan ready to go, know what to do when severe weather strikes and everything like that. But also, severe weather can be very, very unpredictable. And sometimes it can actually occur when you have, maybe 1 to 2 days heads up notice, especially in the summertime, because we don't have a lot of these organized, you know, systems that come out of the west or anything like that. So sometimes we'll figure out severe weather and it's occurring, 2 days out or one day out, something like that. So sometimes people don't have that week notice, and even in that situation, you should always kind of have in that mindset, say, hey, severe weather is occurring here, sit down, kind of figure out a game plan, take a deep breath, and everything like that. So, like so far, I do really like that advice. I really do, and I think a lot of people um, would be able to kind of learn from that advice and kind of use that to their advantage, especially with severe weather, because whenever you're calm and whenever you're kind of level headed, it it really helps to save lives instead of being panicky and kind of running all over the place. Because at that point, you're gonna miss a couple of details, and sometimes during severe weather, if you miss a detail here or a detail there, it may not end so well. So in that point, take a calm mind, kind of be level headed, and that'll really help with severe weather at that point here. So, also speaking of which, we've been doing this since 2014. We've been doing this for going on now 9 years. It'll be 9 years this year. It'll be 10 years next year. Um, and we still have a lot of people from the original days, back when we did this in November and in December of 2014, and kind of saw how Arkansas Weather Watchers was when it was in its infant stages instead of, where it is now, the 200,000 plus juggernaut that it is. And I kind of want to bring on our other moderator. She's been with us for a very, very, very long time, everyone. I mean, she's been with us for almost the beginning of Arkansas Weather Watchers, and her name is Kim. And Kim, I have a question for you. Kind of talk about how Arkansas Weather Watchers was at first. Like, what is the biggest thing back then? Where Facebook and YouTube was still in its infant stages. You didn't have TikTok or anything like that. What intrigued you to come to this page at the very beginning and back in 2014, 2015?
Well, thanks, Cameron.
Mhm.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having me as well. Yeah. Well, my weather, I mean, I'm originally from California
Mhm.
and I moved
Oh,
here in 2000.
that weather must
Hmm?
be nice out there.
Yeah, it's definitely not like it is here. Um, but yeah, I mean, the weather out in California, I'm originally from the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and the
Oh
weather always
wow.
there was just kind of always the same. So
Mhm.
you never really had to worry about the weather. It was
Yeah,
more like, oh, is it going to be sunny or foggy?
yeah. Did you guys
So
even
I
get any
came
rain out
out
there?
here. I'm sorry.
Did you guys even get any rain out there or anything?
Um, well, yeah, but not thunderstorms. Not
Oh
like here.
wow,
I
wow.
mean,
I'm gonna have to move to California sometime.
well, we lived we were about 3 blocks from the actual beach.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I do have to say, in the 40 plus years that I lived there, it actually snowed
Oh wow,
where I lived twice
wow.
at
How
sea
was
level.
that?
So,
How
but
was that?
that's about the most excitement because mostly picture Seattle.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that. It was always kind of foggy and overcast and dreary. And yeah, the sun would
Uh,
come out, but if it got up to 80 or 90 degrees, you were dying, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Did you guys ever
So,
have just? Yeah, I was gonna ask about California. I know it's kind of a little off topic, but did you guys have like like heat waves out there, or like the difference? It sounds like the difference between Arkansas weather and the weather out there is just drastically different. So that's awesome.
well, I mean, I learned really quickly that I mean, you always hear people talking about, oh, well, it's a dry heat. And
Mhm.
then I always thought people were crazy till I moved here. I now understand there is a difference.
No, no doubt, no
So
doubt.
we didn't get the humidity. I mean, we got a little bit, but it was nothing like here.
Oh yeah.
And being that where I lived on the coast, um, if you drove inland, you had to go up over what we called it going over the hill, but
Mhm.
it was actually about 1,900 feet. And you'd go over the hill, and that's where you would get like your 80s, 90s, and sometimes 100-degree weather. But
Wow.
where we lived right on the water, you still had like that ocean breeze. So, I mean, it might get up to, in the low to mid 90s, but only for a couple of days because all the heat from the inland over the hill would pull the fog in off the water.
Wow.
So we'd be in the fog in 60, 70-degree weather, and they'd be in 100-degree weather.
That is absolutely crazy. That is that is nuts. My heart
So
goes out to
yeah,
any forecasters that's out there in California because there's
well,
no way.
that's kind of when I kind of really understood what meteorologists would say because in California we had nothing like Arkansas weather watchers.
Yeah.
So you
We-
just turned on the news and you'd watch the nightly weather.
mhm.
And it was when they would talk about microclimates, I now understand. because you could drive literally 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you'd be in a totally different weather area.
Yeah. That's
So,
nuts.
I mean, it's kind of the same here with storms in a sense,
Mhm.
where, you could be getting a lot of rain in the Little Rock area, and I live further north than that, and I'm watching you get all this weather, and the wind isn't even blowing here,
Yeah.
you know?
And not much is going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That is absolutely, like I said. My heart goes out to anyone that's trying to forecast out there in California. That sounds like a nightmare.
But yeah, so I came out here, life happens,
Hmm.
and it was time for a move. And so my son already had moved out here,
Hmm.
and we came out to visit in April of 2011.
That's right. Yeah.
And we were
Wow.
getting ready. Yeah. We were getting ready to fly home, and we're sitting in the parking lot at the airport in Little Rock, getting ready
Mhm.
to go in and get on our flight and fly home. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I heard a tornado siren. I had no idea what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, hey, for those that don't know, April 2011 was a very, 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 very active year here in Arkansas and the Mid South for severe weather and tornadoes here. So you got kind of the wake up
Well,
experience.
yeah, and it's kind of crazy to think that I still, even after that experience, I actually moved here.
You want to
Not a
know
lot of
something
people.
funny? You want to know something
Yeah,
funny is that was my first year of experience in Arkansas as well.
gotcha. Wow,
Well,
you guys had an experience back
so
then.
that night, sitting at the airport, I had to have my son explain to me, what is this crazy sound I'm hearing, and what is this all about? And being that he had already lived here, he's like, "Oh, don't worry, mom. It's no big deal. It's just a tornado siren." What? So I called from the parking lot. I called the airlines and I said, is my flight still going? And they said, no, because
No.
there are tornadoes in the area. I'm like, what? So, needless to say, we ended up leaving. And as we were driving back to Greenbrier,
Mhm.
we made it as far as the bowling alley in Conway, because we had the Valonia 2011 tornado coming up I-40 right behind us.
Goodness,
So that was definitely an eye opener. It took us
that's nuts.
3 days to be able to actually fly back to California.
Yeah.
And yeah, I still decided to move here. My daughter and I decided, yeah, hey, let's move.
That's nuts. And I remember 2011 actually. And granted, this is 3 years before Arkansas Watchers was even a thing. Um,
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, I remember being in school and in April, like I mean, almost every day we were either doing a either the tornado shelter thing, or we were like it was like an everyday thing. Like we'd hear the sirens go off. I lived in El Dorado at that time, and we just dealt with it. It was like almost, like I said, almost every day in April and May. It was rough. It was
See, and
rough.
in
Now, yeah.
California, we did the same when I was in school a
Mhm.
long time ago, but ours was with earthquakes.
That is wow. Okay, and here's saying here in Arkansas, we will. There's been some cases, especially if they're in the Jonesboro area and the New Madrid fault. There's been some cases of a few earthquakes, but not like it is out there in California. So it's kind of weird how that kind of flip flops. Like you guys
Well,
still
it's
earthquake
yeah,
drills out there.
because I actually was in California when the Loma Prieta earthquake hit.
Oh
And
wow,
that's the earthquake that actually stopped the World Series baseball game.
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that. Wow.
hmm I lived in between the epicenter in the Santa Cruz area and where the World Series was actually being played. I lived in the middle of it.
I am glad you are still with us today.
So, I mean, in all
I'm glad.
honesty, I mean, yes, I gave up the earthquakes, but I replaced them with tornadoes.
Yeah.
Tornadoes, as scary and as damaging and as often as they are, thanks to you, Cameron, I can stay ahead of the storm. I can prepare and I know it's coming. Whereas an earthquake, you have no clue. It just
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think there's no early
No.
heads up or anything,
No.
it just happens.
Yeah.
That's
But
that's
yeah,
nuts.
so I mean, after moving here, we moved here in June of
Mhm.
11. So not long after the Valonia earthquake, tornado.
No. Just say they've had enough.
Yeah, right? Um we got settled and everything, and then comes 2014.
Mm.
I lived in Greenbrier. Well, my son and my daughter and I lived in Greenbrier, and Valonia happened again.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was
And
like, there's got to be, because we had, what was it, like dish television, not
mhm.
cable.
Yeah.
So whenever the wind would blow, the TV would go out. So I'd know nothing.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. We mentioned this in a earlier podcast. When me and Derek were talking about that, and that was one of the biggest drivers for Arkansas Water Watchers is situations like that where you don't have the TV, you don't have the local news stations, you have something on your phone that you can get without having to worry about going through all that. Because at that given point, that could help save lives, and it could help get you to shelter and everything like that. So.
Well, I can tell you it helped save ours.
I'm glad. That
Literally.
makes me feel honored
Literally.
that it was.
After that, 2014, I was searching everywhere to find some way, somehow, to be able to get weather information because I had to know. This is no joke.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I found you guys on Facebook, and I think when I found you guys and started following, you had maybe 200 people, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It was. Yeah, it was a. And that at that point, it wasn't meant to be what we are today. I mean, the statewide franchise that we are today. It wasn't meant to be that way. It was meant to
Right.
be like a community
But
thing, and
but even so, as much as you guys have grown,
Mhm.
I have to tell you that after finding you guys, you were my only go-to. I didn't even watch the weather on the news anymore. Um, I watched you guys because not only did you and Derek both sit there and say, "Hey, this is going on in this area," but you explained it. You weren't just like, "Oh, hey, here comes a tornado, take cover." You explained it, you showed it, and you helped walk people through it.
and
And
that's
that was an amazing, amazing help.
like I said. I really do appreciate the kind words because that's what we drive for here. That's what we do. We try to save as many lives as possible. And one thing about that particular quote is, we don't just say, there's tornado, take cover. If,
Right.
if you don't know where to take cover, that's not going to help you.
Exactly.
Like,
Because at the time, we lived in a mobile home.
mhm,
We had no storm shelter. There was nowhere to go.
mhm,
So
yeah,
at one point, I don't remember what year it was, but there was a tornado that came up through like the Plummerville area, came up into Worcester, and there was a tornado warning, and it actually turned into a PDS tornado at one point.
Mhm.
And we're panicked. We have nowhere to go. And we're watching you, and we knew where the storm was, where the tornado was coming from. We actually jumped in a car, which is not the most safest thing you can do,
The thing
but we
is,
jumped in a car
if you're in a mobile
and
home at that point, yeah,
we drove
Mhm.
the opposite direction of where the tornado was coming.
Mhm. Yeah, and
And
yeah,
as we left, come to find out, the tornado had pulled itself back up. It jumped right over our heads of where we lived.
Mhm.
It landed on the other side of Highway 65 and proceeded
Wow.
to do some damage to a little like strip mall kind of a thing in Spring Hill, and then went out towards Holland and did damage to a house and a church.
I
And
want to
because
say
of
that
you,
was the
we were
yeah.
opposite direction of that.
I want to say during that point, like I said, I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
I think that was around the 2016 time
Hmm.
frame. It was around that time frame. I remember covering that storm, and um,
Yeah, they even
yeah,
dropped the
yeah.
National Weather Service dropped the tornado warning.
And I was a frustrated man when I did that
And
too.
you were saying, no, no, no. If you're in this area, please take cover.
Yes,
Go to your safe places. And we did. We listened to you. And
that's
you took us ahead of the storm.
that's
Well, in that case, away from the storm.
yeah. Well, the thing is, at that point, if you're in a mobile home and you have to you have to seek shelter or anything like that, you kind of want to do that. You if you can, if you're you know 25-30 minutes away and there's absolutely no safe place where you're at, then you could do that. If you could get away from it, then do that. If there's no other place you can go at that point, because a mobile home is not going to be the safest place. Like it's not.
No, we
So
literally loaded up 2 vehicles. And as you know, we at the time had 6 dogs.
yeah.
We loaded up all the dogs and people in the 2 vehicles, and we went away from the storm.
I'm honestly glad you guys did. And like I said, I know that's not the most recommended thing. Um, Someone's going to hear this. They're going to be like, okay, well, why did you get in your car? A car is the worst place to be. No, in that situation, if you're in a mobile home, there's nowhere else to go. A car and evacuating is the best thing. I know they did that for the Joplin tornado. I believe it was back, let me think if my memory is correct. I think it was in 2011. 2011 was a year. It was a
Yeah,
year.
it was rough. And like I said,
Yeah,
for some
a
reason
lot
we
of
still
tornadoes.
moved here.
Yeah. So it was during that point, and they had a lot of people because it happened in sudden impact. They had a lot of people that were either traveling stuff like that, and they were actually urging people because it was moving slow enough to evacuate, to go east, to go
Right.
south or southeast. Because if you can't get underground or you're in a mobile home, it's either you evacuate or it's going to be potentially your life.
Yeah.
So that's we made the right call. I mean, I know it doesn't sound safe, but at the end of the day,
At that
you're
point
still here. Yeah,
we decided that was safer than trying
yeah,
to hang
exactly,
out in an old trailer, you know.
definitely. So I do have one more question.
What's that?
So from back then, from 2014, 2015, and where we are right now, where we are in terms of updates and all the changes and stuff that we've made. Um, what is the biggest thing that you liked about where we are and kind of the things that we've kept since back then?
Well, I just think, I mean, in all honesty, I think the core values that you have are still intact, and wanting to keep people safe and wanting to keep them ahead of the storm. And I think now, being that technology has, you know, evolved so much in just so many years, you're able to now expand on that. You're able to reach more people in different ways. And
Definitely.
it's just, it's, well, for me, being, like one of 200 to now of like one of over 200,000. I mean, I have seen the changes, and it's mind blowing. It's
Definitely.
it's awesome. It's amazing, and I am just really great that I'm grateful that you have allowed me to actually be a part of it in more ways than just watching you on Facebook, you
Yeah.
know?
And I just want to kind of say thanks to you guys. We wouldn't be here doing this, giving these people an update. And that's the number one thing, like you mentioned. No matter how many changes that we go through, no matter how many, app updates that we have or graphic changes and stuff like that, our core values are always going to remain the same because at the end of the day, we're all here to kind of keep everybody alive and well and kind of ahead of the storm and everything. And um, I kind of want to throw this out before we begin to wrap this up. I know during the March 31st tornado outbreak, when we had the high risk, um, like we mentioned before, I know we did lose. I think we lost like 2 lives out of that entire thing, or maybe it was either 2 or 3 if my memory is correct. But from where we were back then, 2014, during that point, you didn't have Facebook Live.
No.
You didn't have all this, technology and stuff like that. And I would have hated to think, and I sat through this over the last couple of nights, kind of thinking about this, like, hey, you know, if this was 2014 with the limited stuff we had back then, March 31st would have been, it would have been one of our darkest days here in Arkansas. So it does make me feel proud that I'm able to go live. I'm able to, you know, communicate the importance of tornado warnings and know where to go when severe weather strikes and everything like that. And it's not just severe weather, it's winter weather and tropics and all the other stuff. So I do appreciate and I love each one of y'all for being here and keeping the dream going. So as we begin to wrap up this podcast, kind of going back to our moderator Heidi, I know we kind of talked to you about the survey and the kind of the team that you're building, kind of helping to kind of battle the ongoing battle between storm anxiety and severe weather, especially here in Arkansas. And eventually, we're going to try to make our way, regional and everything like that. So, would you mind explaining kind of your survey and what you've got going for your project?
Yeah, so I have created a survey that you can find in the description. And basically, it's going to ask you about how you feel about storms, how it makes you feel, what symptoms you would have, if storm anxiety bothers you at all. And some people might say no, but I would love to hear people's responses. And then I'm going to take that and I'm starting a group that goes over those responses, kind of like how I mentioned, where we'll talk about preparedness, where we'll talk about mindfulness and the thoughts that we have when we're thinking about the storms, breathing techniques when it comes to storm anxiety. And I'll just take all those responses and we'll kind of work on a group to combat storm anxiety and hopefully help a lot of people not struggle with that as much.
That sounds amazing. And, I know there's someone out there that, that is struggling with said storm anxiety and everything like that. And I want to make this clear that you should never be afraid of admitting that you have storm anxiety. This is something that you can't help. You can't just go and, turn it off and on like a light switch. You can't do that. It's very important that if you have storm anxiety, that you can always come to our group. You can always go and fill out that survey and stuff like that and get the help that you need. That way, when severe weather strikes, when, we have these tornado warnings and stuff like that, you're able to stay ahead of the storm and you're actually able to kind of figure out, where to go, what to do and everything like that. So I just want to make that clear. Like I said, Heidi, I really love that group. I'm glad I'm helping you kind of lead the charge with that group as well, because I think it's going to help kind of charge and kind of get out the awareness of storm anxiety and kind of helping those that are that are sitting back that are like, don't want to say anything because they're afraid of being judged or they're afraid of being laughed at and stuff like that. And that should be something that, no one should ever laugh at storm anxiety. No one should ever make anyone else feel bad for being worried about, their family, their loved ones, their property and everything like that. That's something that you deal with severe weather. So, like I said, I love the project. I'm glad to be helping with that project, and I think it's going to go a long way, especially for us here at the page and kind of helping people out with that. And if you need a link to that survey, you can always find the link to that survey in the podcast episode description on wherever you're able to listen to this podcast. That could be on YouTube or iHeartRadio or on Spotify, etc. here. So, like I said before, Heidi, I do fully appreciate you for doing this. I think it's going to really help out, especially for those that don't know, is there a place they can go for storm anxiety and everything like that. So, as always, kind of want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters, Jessica Tucker, Tamara Ernest, Deborah Jordan, Peb Webb, also Lisa Snow, and also the rest of our Patreon supporters. We're going to have a lot of things thrown at you guys over the next couple of weeks and over the next couple of months. So, as always, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, it's only $3.99 a month or $5.99 a month as well. And we also have a lot of classrooms that are going to be going on as well. So, as always, we do appreciate you guys for being here. We'll keep you guys informed right here on your source for all things Arkansas weather.